Hey there, my name is Przemek and here's a retro review. Well, maybe not a review, but a bunch of my feelings and memories related to Elend fourth album called Wind's Devouring Men. I planned to record this video a bit earlier, but sorry, God of War Ragnarok was out. What else can I say? But let's cut to the chase. I heard Elend for the first time in the mid-90s. It was a late night radio show, mostly dedicated to death and black metal, but sometimes they were playing also some different but also very underground forms of music, like dark ambient or power electronics. Like cold meat industry stuff, for example. I remember I got to know such projects like Brighter Death Now or Mental Destructions, the destruction in that show. And one time they played two tracks from Le Ténèbres du Dehors, the middle part of the so-called Office des Ténèbres trilogy. I think it was Luciferian Revolution track, and I don't remember. I'm not sure which one. But I remember back then I was quite in shock. The fact that it corresponded with black metal concepts, but wasn't performed by the guys with the long hair, corpse paint, and loud guitars. Made me think of the music as even more blasphemous because of that. And as a teenager, I was a bit afraid of that music, but it was also kind of tempting, you know. It was a story about a war in heaven between God and Satan, but told 100% serious, with almost biblical sublimity. I knew I have to get the album somehow. Obviously it wasn't available in any of my local music stores, but lucky coincidence, a few weeks, maybe a month or two after that radio show, I had a school trip to France, Paris among others. And I hoped for at least a couple of hours of free time in Paris to look for Le Ténèbres du Dehors in some music stores. I knew that there's a Virgin Megastore near Louvre Museum, because it wasn't the first time I was in Paris, and I remembered more or less the location of the Megastore. And yes, we got a couple of hours of free time, and with a few colleagues we have visited a few locations, and when it was about an hour left, I said, I need to buy one record in Virgin Megastore. Who's going with me? One guy said yes, sure, why not? A devoted Catholic, by the way. I suppose he wasn't aware of my profane agenda, so to speak. We were in some other district in Paris. Don't sure which one was that. I'm not sure which one was that. But hey, 1 hour is quite a lot of time, especially having a subway to our disposition. I found Virgin Megastore. The album was there, yes, but when we left the store, we realized that we have about 15 minutes to left, and the meeting point with the rest of the group is in a completely different part of the city. So we started to run to the nearest metro station. Of course, because of the rush, we confused the trains. We were lost in Paris subway system, like in the sea of darkness, if you know what I mean. But eventually we found the group. We were late about 40 minutes. Our teachers were that close of calling the police. I was vomiting my lungs out. The teachers made quite a scene, but it was worth it. I got the album. I still have it, by the way. I thought this is the modern classical I want to listen. This is the higher form of art or something. Today I still like the album quite much, but I consider it more like a black metal, but from a different angle. Sure, the modern classical inspirations like Penderecki are obvious, but hey, let's keep all the proportions. They obviously couldn't afford the huge badass orchestra, so most of the classic sounds were generated by a computer. With all the means of expressions available, they did everything they could, and even more. The final installment of this first trilogy, The Amber Sun, is up to this date one of my favorite albums ever. They followed the concept from the first albums, but it was darker and more grandiose and simply better in every aspect. The melancholic parts were bringing tears to my eyes, like the choir which appears in Moon of Amber. What a moment! To be honest, it always reminded me of the atomic bomb scene in Spielberg's Empire of the Sun, but it's a different story. The dark and violent ones were like visiting the deepest parts of hell, with my favorite part. Then we met her, Lavadia, the firstborn of death. Actually, I think this angelic war between God and Lucifer couldn't have a better musical illustration than the Amber Sun. So when the trilogy was over, I was thinking, what next? It seemed like the idea from the first albums was fulfilled, and I don't think they would do better as on the Amber Sun. And there was not much more to say in this subject. With the concept more metaphysical, introspective, based on a kind of disappointment and vanity of existence, the music also became more oniric, but also maybe even more smooth and song-oriented on Wynne's Devouring Men. The first thing that came to my mind when I heard the first 2 or 3 tracks was, well, it sounds like That Can Dance, those pieces with Brendan Perry on vocals, especially that Elend vocalist, Renaud Schirner, I believe. His timbre was quite similar to Brendan Perry. Though Perry's singing is more diverse, I think. Sounds like That Can Dance, but it's more mellow and spatial. It's like Gerard and Perry were exploring some huge cathedral or some other stone majestic monument. Elend was like sailing over the endless sea or 7 seas. Gothic, neoclassical, dark wave, but with a twist. I remember I listened to those first 3 tracks and thought, okay, sounds pretty, but I'm not a huge fan of this kind of music. Well, okay, except for That Can Dance, obviously. But to be honest, I like maybe 4 albums by Lisa and Brendan, and without the other ones, my musical world wouldn't be any poorer. But later it turned out it's, as I said, dark wave with a twist, because the 4th track, the music gets significantly louder and darker at the same time. The orchestral parts, sometimes perhaps a bit dissonant, come to the forefront, and in a few moments you get even a touch of industrial noises, and in my opinion these are the best moments of Wynne's Devouring Men. So the album reaches its climax with the 6th title track, instrumental, which sounds exactly like what the title suggests. It's about Wynne's Devouring Men. And in the following 7th track, Vision is All That Matters, a perfect composition. Every time I listen to it, fucking A, this is it. The tension of silent parts and the outbursts of orchestral violence in the second half of the track, you know, from the words, "You lay me in the dust of the dead," are doing it does me so good, you know. That's literally one of my favorite musical fragments ever. And with the last three tracks, we're emerging from those abyssal depths again to a surface. You can take a deep breath again, especially that the last song's leitmotif. Last song was called a Staggering Moon, as far as I remember. Yes, a Staggering Moon. Its leitmotif is even kind of serene, especially when compared to the rest of the album. And when I embrace the whole Wind's Devouring Men, its structure and the general composition, I realize it's such a great thing, thorough from beginning to end, and in my opinion, doesn't change up until today. Only a year later, Elend has released another part of Wind's trilogy. Though as far as I remember, this Winds was considered as a 5-part epos. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was Sunward the Dead, and 3 years later, the last one, The World in Their Screams. Honestly speaking, I didn't listen to them a lot. Actually, I don't remember why. Perhaps because that was the time when I was listened to dark ambient only and shamelessly neglected the other genres of music. You know, now while preparing this video, I think maybe I should get back to them and give them the attention they deserve. As I said, Wind's Devouring Men was released by Prophecy Records in 2003. No, I didn't say that, but it was released by Prophecy Records in 2003. But in 2021, the remastered vinyl version was out thanks to Norma Evangelium Diaboli, a cult French label, black metal label, home of Deadspell Omega or Funeral Mist. So it's a good opportunity for younger listeners to get to know this really unique project. Damn, I sound like some boomer. Okay, that would be it. I wholeheartedly recommend Elend, Wind's Devouring Men, and the whole discography of this band. I hope they will record something once again in the future. Okay, thanks for watching, and see you soon.